Welcome to another challenge run of Final Fantasy Tactics. This is a single class challenge using the Oracle. That's right, the Oracle, the seldom used and I would say sometimes underplayed for sure. Cool class in this game, the Oracle, otherwise known as, I think, Mystic, a few other names for this thing. Most of the abilities of this class are status buffs and debuffs, kind of specializing in debuffs. I'm very interested to see how this run is going to develop. I think there's going to be a lot of very difficult fights ahead of me here. This is not one of them, although it is telling to say that my first attempt at Sweegy Woods was a failure because I was a little bit too aggressive with my oracles here. We're going to be relying on quite a few luck-based attacks. Almost everything the Oracle does has a hit percentage because they're all of these statuses. So it's going to be tricky to land things with reliability as we go through. As per usual here for Sweegy Woods, this is the first battle that we see because this is the first time that we get a chance to really actually play with our characters and go to our menus. I did get them turned into oracles, and then I did use the JP scroll glitch to allow them to have access to the full list of the spells. Now, they don't actually have enough MP at the beginning to really cast very many of them at all, but this is just a nice way to get to use some of the abilities of the Oracle even here in the early game, especially things like move MP up, absorb used MP, and some of the nicer things like Petrify, which is kind of my general win condition here is Petrify. So right now they are putting on the Faith status on each other. The Faith status sets your Faith to 100. That's going to work out nicely because most of the hit percent things are based on a function of a number plus your magic attack times your Faith over 100 times the target's Faith over 100. I know that sounds funky to hear just spoken out loud, but each one of those modifiers is going to be less than 1 because it is the Faith number divided by 100. So it's going to be so something like the Pray Faith. Its success rate is 150 plus your MA, your magic attack, and that's multiplied by your Faith over 100. So if that's 70, it's multiplied by 70%, and if the target's Faith over 100 is also 70, it's multiplied by 70% again. So it's kind of cut by 30% twice in all of that multiplication, but it stacks on itself, I believe, as I read this. If the order of operations is in place, they're not flat. Maybe they are flat if the order of operations is not in place. I'm not actually sure. But anyway, the higher your Faith and the higher the target's Faith, the better chance you have of landing these things. So if both you and the target have high Faith, or in the case of using the Faith ability, 100 Faith, then you're going to be in much better shape. So, Delita and Algus are still their squire selves. I took their weapons off, but they don't have enough JP to get into the Oracle class. There's not really much they can do, so they're pretty much just going up there and attacking what they can. Now, we are kind of outnumbered here, and you're supposed to really have a little bit better guest characters. I only have 4 oracles, plus those 2 is all you have room for. They're going to soak up a lot of damage and attacks, which is good. I like that. But my oracles are not going to be able to take very many, and we don't want to keep any bombs around very long. We don't, especially once they're weak, when they start to do self-destruct. But there is the move MP up, so that gives you like a 10% of your max MP whenever you move. So right now we're picking up about 3. Later on, as we scale up, that will get better. We'll start to pick up more MP, and that'll actually make these casters a lot better. A lot of our spells are pretty expensive for us right now, so as we get better robes and more levels to get some more MP, we're going to be in a lot better shape with these. So I'm coming up a little bit here to start charging, and hopefully we can land a couple of early Petrifies. Petrifies are nice in these monster battles because it's basically an instant KO spell. Now you can see my percentage of hitting is not super great. A lot of these monsters tend to have lower Faith, especially those bombs. Those bombs have really, really low Faith. So they're actually pretty hard to hit. A good tactic may have actually been to put them into Faith status, but then you're talking about wasting more actions when we're outnumbered like this. It's kind of hard for that. So I'm lucky that Algus and Delita are just up there at the front absorbing all of this punishment from these guys while we're able to buff ourselves up with the Faith status and start charging. I don't have to worry about getting petrified because petrify is just single target activity. So it's okay if it comes up while we're charging. Petrify is kind of a longer charge spell. Unfortunately, we don't have access to short charge with this group. We do have access to defense up, so our physical damage is less. Defense up is really handy. There's a petrify attempt. And there it is. Indeed landed right there. So that bomb is out of commission, out of the battle. We're going to try to hit this black goblin as well. Boom. So there's 2 petrifies right off the top. Those are not guaranteed. In my first attempt, I was having really, really rotten luck in getting petrifies to land. Here we are 3 for 3 so far. And that's the kind of thing we're going to need in this battle. In these kinds of fights, that's what we're going to need. You may have seen at the very beginning when we cast Faith on each other, Pray Faith on each other, we were triggering the Absorb Used MP ability a little bit. So it's handy that you can do that with a buff spell. So if you cast Faith on your own character, it's a chance for them to trigger that counterattack, even though it's a beneficial spell, and they can gain that MP. It ends up not being a net MP gain, I should say, because the caster still loses exactly what they would have lost anyway, but the recipient of the spell gains that much when they wouldn't have gained any. So it is a nice net gain of MP right there. So there's Faith status leaving us, and that's one of the tough parts about this game is when you do rely on a buffing spell that you apply in the beginning, something like Haste or some Protect, something similar, is that as these battles wear on, sometimes just when you need them the most is when those buffs kind of wear off. It's not super critical right here because we're a long way from the enemies. We can spend a round getting ourselves back up to Faith. But there probably will be times in this game when I am 1 round short and I just need to have the Faith skill active, and it just is not able to happen for us. So we'll see what we can do here with this. I'm very interested to see how a lot of the battles up here will go. I'm hoping to use the full gamut of Oracle spells. You can use things like the Brave lowering one, the Foxfire, or the Foxbird that lowers their Brave. That's something that you can do to, for example, take out a nasty counterattack that an enemy has. Like if Algus has Auto Potion or Ygraph has Auto Potion, you can you can knock their ability to do that down a little bit. There is Absorb Used MP right there. So again, that's just a nice MP net gain because we get the spell and we get the MP back from it. Boom, there it is right there. The caster doesn't get it, the recipient gets it. The offensive power of the Oracle will not really come into play until we get access to sticks. Once we get access to sticks, these guys are going to become powerhouses of wackitude. The sticks are going to be really handy. They have a longer reach. They have a 2 square reach, and they make it, they're more or less uncounterable because most enemies that have counter spell or counter attacks can only counter with 1. Pardon my yawning as I'm recording today. Most enemies with counterattacks can only counter to 1 tile away from them. So we just have a few enemies left here, and there may be times too later on where I have to kind of grind up some MP. We can drain MP from enemies, so when we are doing some grinding levels or we're just trying to gain some experience and just extend the battle to do as many actions as we can, it's nice to be able to drain that HP and MP. I should say both of those are percentage-based attacks. So Spell Absorb drains 33% of the target's max MP, and they don't actually even have to have the MP. If they have 0 MP, you can still absorb 33% of their max MP. And then Life Drain absorbs 25% of their max HP. Both of those, their base accuracy is 160. So again, it's 160 plus magic attack times Faith over 100 times the target's Faith over 100. We are not going to sadly see any of the quotes from these spells. Maybe I'll read those sometimes. They are kind of funny. For example, Life Drain is lost energy, raise the heart rate. Life Drain. That's a pretty good one. I've seen some of these before. And as I record this, I've done a good few battles already in this run. I have ended up using even Doubt Faith, the one that causes the innocent status. So that's pretty cool. I did it on a charging wizard. We'll see that to try to make it so that their spell did no damage. Also could have just used Silence Song. So, you know, that could have been another choice if you've got a charging wizard. But all of it goes to, you know, the charging speed and the success rate and all those things that you're checking in on. So hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that. I think Silence will become a little bit more useful later in the game when we're playing against more magic characters. So Ramza has almost full MP there because he's been moving around and gaining 3 MP per move. Again, like I said, once we have more better equipment, we'll gain a lot more MP. Even for each action, we're going to be gaining more MP. So it's nice that we can do that. He's just casting whatever. Darkness, it looks like. Yep. So there we go. Now that bomb is darkness status. That's because I think I'm charging the paralyze, and I don't think it's in range to do its self-destruct attack. So I thought I would just sneak off an extra spell to hit it, because that is the petrify animation right there, and there it is. So that is the Sweegy Woods, and even that one was a little bit dicey here on the second attempt, but hopefully the battles get a little bit easier as we go on and we gain a little bit more MP. If you like this video, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, or hit me up on Twitter where I'm also active _ATE. We will see you in Dorter Trade City.